What's up, party people? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. And you know, we come on here to talk about real life topics to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. And I am so stoked because I am in love with this woman, right? So her name is Lillian Maldonado, and we have been connected in such a beautiful way. I love the work that she is doing, and she is the CEO of Ajusta Tu Corona, which is Adjust Your Crown. And this is a platform that she has come up with that creates assistance for people of adversity, right? So they cultivate self-esteem, and they teach them about self-love and all of this really great really great content and topic that she comes up with to make sure that we are impacting people's lives. I myself, as she, are survivors of domestic violence, and so this is like really, really close and dear to my heart. And last week we had talked about the different types of abuse, right, Lillian? And that was really powerful. I mean, it was really I got some messages afterwards like, wow, okay, wow, that's a great flag. Wow, I didn't think about that. You know, you talked about so many different aspects, right? I know that we didn't get to finish because there was so much, and I know that one of them that you were stopping at when before we ended it was about financial abuse, right? And how, you know, even people can control you even in that aspect, right? Whether they give you whether they give you an allowance or they give you a little bit of money or whatever, and they keep you hooked on that. I actually have a friend who's going through that very same thing where he is extremely abusive, but she's a stay-at-home mom. And so he controls the whole narrative with what he gives her, and what he gives her is very minuscule, and she has to live off of that or work the whole family off of that, right? So that was super powerful. And I know that when we talked last week, we also talked about how we were going to make a little series of this because right now domestic violence is on a rise.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, right? Unfortunately, the pandemic actually brought out a lot of mental illnesses. It also brought out a lot of abuse issues towards children, but also towards, you know, domestic violence towards spouses. Right. So I'm glad that you're here with us. And why don't we start really quick with just introducing yourself again, just for those who didn't watch the last episode, because if you didn't, you need to get back there and do that. But go ahead and introduce yourself to us a little bit so we can go ahead and talk about the topic today, which is how we date or dating after abuse. What does that look like? So go ahead.
So thank you so much for having me, Nina.
I'm
So as
glad
she
you're here.
stated, my name is Lillian Maldonado. I am the CEO of Ajusta Tu Corona, which translates to Adjust Your Crown. And what we do is we assist women of adversity. And we're not talking about just bringing you in. We're talking about from the nitty gritty. Usually you're challenged when you're first coming out of a relationship. And that's where we would like to start to manifest and change your thinking and learning to love yourself.
Mhm.
I last time that I was on the show, I did talk about red flags and one of the things, or the different types of abuse, I'm sorry. And one of the things that I didn't get to mention on the show was immigration abuse.
Yes, that's right.
Immigration abuse is
Yes.
huge. Some people
Wow.
will tend to marry another one for money. Others do it because they really love the person, and then they keep you prisoner of
Wow.
them until you can get your citizenship or your documents from immigration. That one is a very big one too.
Wow. Wow. You know, and that's something I never even thought of, right? Immigration abuse. But that's a real thing, Lillian, because it takes
Absolutely.
people like almost 2 years to get their papers. So
Hmm.
within 2 years, you are literally getting manipulated and abused to do what it is they want you to do because you're in a country you don't know.
Hmm.
You know, you are subservient really to what they are saying and doing about the country because you don't know,
Hmm.
right? I never even thought about that, but that is so true. And I've actually spoken to a few people who were women who were immigrants who went through that same thing. And sometimes
Absolutely.
it doesn't even mean, I want you guys to hear me. It doesn't mean an American taking in, like an American white person or whatever you're picturing in your head. It's sometimes even in their same culture. It's sometimes even somebody who is from that culture bringing that person from their country in, and even that can become abuse because they have a power now that
Yeah.
they're holding over this person's head. Wow,
Mhm.
that's huge, Lillian. That's really big. And that's something that I think most of us need to be more aware of, because I don't think we are. I think we
Yeah.
just see it and we're like, oh, they're okay, they're together, and not realizing that maybe she or he can be held almost slave or prisoner to this person.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Wow,
Absolutely.
huge.
They threaten them. They threaten them with calling immigration on them and having
Yeah.
them deported out of the country. And realistically, that happens far and few in between. So if
Hmm.
someone is threatening you with that, wake up. Wake
Yeah.
up. They really cannot do that.
Right.
And
Wow,
if you
that's
have
so
a child
powerful.
in the United States, they are less prone to deport you with a child in the USA. The USA, well, back in the day, I don't know under today's government what
Right.
the policy is, but the United States was not prone to deport a mother with a US citizen child.
Right, right. Wow,
Mhm.
that's really powerful. And thank you for bringing that up, because I know that was last week's episode, but so relevant to what we're speaking about. And now I wanted to talk to you about what we were going to touch on today, because you know what, Lillian, I struggled with dating after abuse. I struggled with that. Oh, somebody said something here. Hold on. It's Margarita. She said, hostage like manipulative control. Exactly, Margarita. Exactly. Hostage like manipulative control. That's exactly what that is, especially with the immigration piece.
Mhm.
And so it is. You are held hostage 100%. And when you're so to switch off of that, and to switch on to the dating, even with the immigration or all of that, right? Just abuse, period. Lillian, it is really hard to start dating after you've been abused, or you actually date quickly to get over that abuse and don't even realize that there are flags in this one that you should be aware of. So I wanted you to touch on, what is it when you're talking about dating after abuse?
What in the Latino community, or where I'm from, my family's from Puerto Rico, we have a saying that says un clavo saca otro clavo, meaning one
Mm,
nail will take out another nail. Meaning if you just hammer another nail over the nail that's in the wall, that'll get rid of the nail that's there. And that is completely false. It
mm-hmm,
is a
mm-hmm.
journey. You have to learn new behaviors and unlearn old behaviors.
That's
You
so
have to
true.
be able to learn to trust again. You have to be able to recognize your triggers. And you most definitely, out of everything, you have to be able to take things slow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And it's hard. That's hard to do, because you are so, at least this is what happened to me, right? I was so desperate to get out of that toxicity, right? Because even though I had gone to a battered women's shelter, and then I got out of it after a year, I was living with my son. His father was still very much toxic in my life, right? And so I got quickly into a relationship with who is now my ex-husband, and I just did not even want to see any flags. Now, he wasn't abusive physically, so I thought that was okay, without realizing I was dating a pathological liar, a narcissist, which was something now, now that I've gotten divorced over 20 years ago, I realized. But you know what, Lillian? I didn't want to realize. I wanted to just get out of the toxic, right? Not realizing I was going into something that was a different type of toxic, right? So to your point, how do we start that journey then? How do we start to maybe slow down, or uh to try to realize what our triggers are, things like that? What do you think about that?
It it is quite a journey. You won't know what your triggers are until you take the time for yourself
Mm,
to learn them. For example, it could be a smell, it could be a
mm-hmm.
sound, and you don't know what they are until you
So true.
actually go through with them. So when you take the time to focus on yourself and to think about the toxic um red flags that your partner have, or all the things that you saw that your ex-partner had,
Mm-hmm.
you have to accept them, think about them, and then realize that when you start to date, whoever it is that you're starting to date, whether it be someone you think you may be in a relationship with, you have to recognize them and
Mm-hmm.
see if they have any of those patterns that your ex had.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that they're going to turn into your ex. You may want to talk to them about it. For me,
Right.
number one, communication.
Right.
You
Right.
have to communicate with the person that you are dating if you think that they are going to be in your life for a while. You have to tell them what you went through. A lot
Yeah.
of us don't want to do that. We don't want to share our story. And
Mm-hmm.
we can't expect the person that knows nothing about our past to not behave like as a normal person, or to walk on eggshells around us
Right.
unless we share our story with them.
So true. I remember when I, I'm married now 21 years. 21 years. I've been with him like 23. And I remember when he started doing a couple things that I did not like. It triggered me.
Hmm.
It was certain things like, can you call me when you get there? Who are you going with? Like that kind of stuff. And he was actually just concerned just to make sure that I was getting where I was going safely. I immediately went into trigger mode, right? Like immediately I was like, "Oh, you're trying to control me. What is this?" That like all of that. And it wasn't until we stopped and I said, "Okay, this is why. This is why when you do this, this is what occurs." Then he stopped, right? Because then he was like, "Oh, no, no, that's not at all where I was going with that." So I get what you're saying. Communication is key, and it's also going to be something that can save you from thinking that everybody's out to get you.
Correct.
Sometimes what we go through is just a natural circumstance, but because we've been traumatized, we take it in as something that's they're trying to come against us when actually it's just a conversation, right, Lillian? Like it could just be something normal. And then we automatically think it's like something that they're trying to do that's going to terrorize us, right?
And that is exactly why you have to take the time to heal yourself,
Right.
because you're reflecting on your past, or the traumas from your past come back up to the top, and then this poor person who didn't mean any harm by it all of a sudden is on the defensive, wondering what they did wrong
Right.
because of your
Right.
reaction. And
Right.
it's not them, it's your personal issues, because you have not taken the time to heal from your trauma.
Right. Let me ask you a question about that. So, do you think that if you are somebody who has not taken the time to heal from their trauma, do you think it is more likely that that person will date another person that's the same as the one they left?
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
I went
Right.
from one domestic violence relationship into another.
Wow. That's powerful, huh?
It
And
was,
what
and mine's wasn't immediately. I didn't leave one partner to pick up another one. It was actually years in between. But
wow.
in those years in between, because I never accepted or tried to heal or seek therapy, it was there in the subconscious mind.
Mm,
So when I did start to date this wonderful man, I thought, this is heaven. And then it turned out to be hell.
right. Right. So when you dated this wonderful man, do you think there was any red flags that you could have seen in hindsight? Was there anything you could have seen that you didn't see?
I believe that we shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Mhm.
Such as in the sense that I thought because I had met him in church that he was a good person.
Right.
And it doesn't
Right.
necessarily work out to be that way.
Right. So was there anything that he said or did that now that you're healed and you're helping women, was there anything that you like a flag or anything that you should have seen that you didn't?
He was very, very sweet. So I didn't see it that way. But
Mhm.
he did tend to drink a little bit too much, which I should have paid attention to,
Right.
because under intoxication, he became the devil.
Right. Right.
So I should have paid attention to those red
Right.
flags, and I didn't.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting, right? I think that dating after you've been abused is such a tricky thing because like you said, because you have been abused, you tend to forget how sweet your abuser was in the beginning too, right? So because and especially if you're in a long-term abusive relationship, like I was in my relationship for like 5 or 6 years. So, I was so it was so toxic by the end. I forgot about the sweetness stuff in the beginning, right? So when I was getting sweet talked by my now ex-husband, I didn't see any flags at first, right? Because it was so sweet, right? Because you're so abused. And so when you're so abused, and I didn't heal either. I didn't go for the healing. I just
Mhm.
wanted out. That's all I wanted, you know? And so, what do you think are some of the things that you would recommend for someone who is listening or watching who has been in an abusive relationship and now thinks, I really miss being in a partnership? I miss being with someone. What do you think are some of the healthy things that they can do?
One of the things that I suggest is to actually take a notebook and write your pros and cons. Like,
Mm,
what do you want in a healthy
right.
relationship?
Wow,
What
that's
did
good.
you have in your abusive relationship that you do not want in your healthy relationship? You have to know what you want out there to date. You're not going to pick up any Tom, Dick, and Harry and say, this is the person, just because they sweet talk us, that is the person that we are going to go off with.
That's good.
We
That's
have to
good.
decide what we want.
Right. I love that. I love that, Lillian, because it's going to also give you some introspection, right? You're
Mhm.
going to realize some of the things that you thought were important maybe are not so important. And some of the things that you didn't think were important, like them being kind, are maybe more important to you now,
Mhm.
right? So that's really smart. I love that. So that's one of the things I want you guys who are listening and watching to take away with you, right?
Mhm.
Is if you are going to date and you have been in an abusive relationship, take some time for yourself, right, Lillian? I think we don't do that enough where we just stop for a second and pause and say, well, wait a second. What do I want? Not what does this person want to give me, but what do I want,
Mhm.
right? Because that's going to be vital for them not to get into another relationship that can destroy them. Let's be realistic here. Domestic violence and abuse is a very big thing and something that happens a lot now. I don't know, Lillian, this thing about being enclosed for the through the pandemic and all that has caused a lot of uproar in relationships and it's caused a
Absolutely.
lot of toxicity, right?
Mhm.
So but I want people to have a healthy perspective that you can date after you're abused. You are not broken. You might be bent, but you're not broken. And there are ways to get through that. So, what are some of the healthy things that you did, Lillian, to get yourself to the happy place you are today?
Exactly what we're talking about. I actually took a year and a half. I separated from my second abusive relationship. And then for a year and a half, I focused on me. And I
Mm,
actually had this CD by this singer, �薇𝐘𝐒, that talked about strong women. And I listened to that thing every single day while doing dishes, while cleaning the house. And I just fed my mind with positivity, empowering quotes. But it all starts with you. You
mm,
have to put in the work. And what Nina says is absolutely true. There is someone out there for you, but you have to decide what you want for yourself, the goodness that you want for yourself. When i when i was out there and I was working a part-time job, I met this woman on my part-time job that said to me, I she was about to be married, and she said to me, I was so mean to this man. She said all he wanted to do was be good to me, but because we're so used to the bad, we shut the door to the good.
mm.
And she said, once you feel and you learn your value, and once you feel you are worthy, then the goodness walks through the door.
Wow, that's
So, and that
good.
is so true. You won't recognize the goodness until you start to heal yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's so good.
There is a warning, and it's not a warning, but you know how they all say we have that sixth sense? We have it. If you are dating someone and you feel like something is not right, end it right there.
Mm-hmm.
End it right there. Don't wait around for the trauma to happen, for the violence to happen. You are a good judge of character.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel, if your instincts tell you to ditch it, ditch it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that 100%. I remember I was hanging out with someone. It was way back in the day, before I met my husband, and we were hanging out. And I was with my girlfriend and her man, and he said about this other woman that was doing something. He goes, "Oh man, that was my girl. I beat her ass." Blah blah. And I immediately, all my senses, my spidey senses came out, you know? And I looked at my girl. She started laughing with him. I said, "That's not funny." I said, "Because that could be you. That could be you. You step out of line. He's telling you who he is. He's literally telling you who he is." And
Mhm.
she thought it was, "No, girl, that's not." And he did end up being an abuser. He did end up being an abuser, right? Here's the thing. People will tell you who they really are if you just listen,
Absolutely.
right? You
They'll show
just
you too.
listen. They will show you. They will show you and they will speak it. All you have to do is give them some time. People will show you who they really are if you are paying attention, right? Now, dating after being abused can be a very beautiful and also wonderful thing. It doesn't all have to be, so doom and gloom, but like Lillian said, you have to work on yourself first. I believe, Lillian, that you have to come 100%, your partner comes 100%, and you guys do 100% together. I don't
Yeah.
believe in a 50-50.
Hmm.
It's 100. If you're coming 50-50, then you're both broken. And all that happens is when you get together, you're even bigger broken.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's exactly right. It's 100% and 100%.
Yeah.
And the reason also that we ask you to take your time is, like I said, is about your triggers. You
Yeah.
really have to get to know the person. You really have to see how they are. If you have children, you want to see how they behave around your children.
Mm-hmm.
And domestic violence causes post traumatic stress disorder. So, with these triggers, all of a sudden, you'll remember your abuse, you'll remember the depression, you'll remember the loneliness, you'll remember how the pain felt. And if you're still feeling this while dating someone, you are not ready.
Mm,
You are not ready. You need to seek help.
mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Hmm.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't want you guys to like shy away from help either. You know what? I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I had to go through therapy, Lily, and I'm sure you had to get help as well. Listen, this is not an easy thing, right? You fall in love with someone that you trust, and they betray you with that love. They betray you and they hurt you. And then all of a sudden, love hurts, right? But love isn't supposed to hurt, guys. I know that's a saying that everyone says, but it's not supposed to hurt you that way. And when it does, it's not love anymore. It's not. It's control. It's manipulating. It's hurtful. It's decisive. And so we have to be careful with that as well. Like I would never. When I explain my husband to anyone, I don't say, "Oh, I love him, but it hurts." That's not what I say.
Mm-mm.
My husband treats me very, very well. But I also have set up standards for me, Lillian. I've set up standards, right? I set up borders and lines that he cannot cross, right? Calling me out of my name, getting abusive, controlling what every aspect of my life. All of those things are a no-go, right? Because I would never do that to him. I don't expect that to be done to me. But Lillian, dating after abuse sometimes feels like, uh, like you're a detective, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like a birdie, you're trying to figure it all out, like, and you don't need to do that either, guys. What I
No.
want Lillian to share with you is, I love. First of all, I love what she just said about writing your pros and cons. I freaking love that. And taking time for yourself, Lillian, how vital is that? We don't do that enough. That is probably why we got into the abusive relationship to begin with, because we didn't even know who we were, you know? And so we get into anything that sweet talks our ears off. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was a young, ignorant girl, and they said sweet nothings to me in my ear, and that's it.
Right.
I melted.
Right. And it was sweet, literally nothings.
Nothing.
Literally
Yeah.
nothings.
Yeah. You know,
Right.
it was it was ignorance. When you're
Yeah.
young and you don't know and you think you know and you want to be an adult before your time.
Yeah. But you
Um,
know what, Lillian? I find that also with adults, right? It's not even about age, really. It's about knowing yourself. It's
mhm.
really about that, because I know adult women who have gotten into abusive relationships, you know, and they never saw, well, they say they never saw the triggers or the signs. And they probably did, but ignored them like we all do. Because when you don't know yourself and your worth, and women have worth, you have worth, men have worth, we have worth. And when
Mhm.
you don't know your own worth, then somebody will tell you what you're worth, you know, if
Oh,
you don't know your own, right?
isn't that the truth? You,
That's true.
I wish, I mean, we can take a horse to water, we can't make them drink it.
Right.
But the things that we are telling you on this program right now are things that have actually worked for us. When you
Right.
see a professional, they will help you to acknowledge your past, and they will give you coping mechanisms for your triggers, because
Right.
your triggers will probably be there forever. Your post-traumatic stress disorder will be there forever, but you have to know how to control it. And unless you seek a therapist or someone that can help you with that, it may not heal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you may be a strong woman, but even strong women tend to break.
Right.
um, have a support group, have a bunch of friends, get your tribe together. And when you need them, let them know what is going on. When you need them, they will be there for you. It
Yeah.
is so important to have a
Yeah.
support group as well.
Mhm. Mhm. And it's not even just women. It's men
Absolutely.
too. You know,
Mhm.
it's men too, because I've known men who have been abused because they've given everything to a relationship, and they become the one that is being abused. Hold on, I see a beauty goals is here. I love that. If you don't know your worth, someone will tell you what you're worth. Yeah, what you're worth. Exactly. And
Mhm.
beauty goals, thank you for being here. The truth is I'm sure you do this with your clients too, Lillian, because I know that you're a domestic violence coach as well. And I know that one of the biggest things is trying to let these women know, or your client know, of their value, right? Of their innate value. Because once you know that, guys, once you know that, nobody can take that from you, because you already know, right? But when you have been abused, it's going to take time and work. And I love that you said that, Lillian. It's going to take effort. It takes time. It takes effort. Please don't think that you're just going to wake up and you're going to be healed. I don't believe that. I think it takes time and it takes work. And I love, Lillian, that you also said the PTSD is not just going to go away, but you'll learn how to manage it. You'll learn how to, maybe prevent some of the future triggers, things like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So, what else did you have for us as far as dating after abuse?
One of the things that I wanted to bring up before I answer that question is I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. So when I left my last abusive relationship and I focused on myself for literally a year and a half.
Love
In
that.
that year and a half, I learned who I was. I learned to value myself. I learned I was worthy of so much, writing down what I wanted and writing down what I didn't want, what I was getting from the abuser. And I have to say that because I held myself to this level, I stayed by myself 10 years. I dated in those 10 years on and off, but there was no one that I felt
Mm,
was worthy of me. So, and that wasn't overnight, that was over an 11-year period. So,
mm,
this is why I say take it slow, learn about the other person, but most importantly, know yourself, love yourself, learn
Right.
your value.
Right.
And then what you pray for or what you ask the universe for will be brought to you.
Right. Right. Now let me ask you this. Did you, in those 10 years that you were dating, right? Um, did you see flags and that's what made you, nope, you're not the one?
Hmm.
Um, is that what it was? Like you saw some things
Absolutely.
pop up? Oh, you did. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Can you
Yeah.
give us like an example of some of those flags that you might have seen?
One of the persons that I went on a date with, um, we ended up making it a double date.
Okay.
And we met at a restaurant. And at the restaurant, this was our first date, mind you. At the restaurant, he said, I'm not hungry. I already ate. And we're like, okay. And then the bill comes, and the other gentleman says to him, do you want to split it half and half to cover for the ladies? He's like, no, no, no. I just want to see what my portion of it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was the end of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Another one, another
Chivalry.
date that I had gone on, the the gentleman was just very aggressive in talking about uh, homophobia,
Mm,
and talked about how earrings was a homophobic thing for men. And I was like, my babysitter called. I really have to go.
right.
So,
Right. Right.
and those are things that were red flags to me, because if you're talking about this on a first date and you're behaving like this on a first date,
Right.
you are not going to treat me or to the level that I expect.
Right. Good for you.
So
For you.
they're little things that may not be a big deal, but when you make your list of what you want and you stick to your list and you learn your value, those things become big things.
I love that. I love that. So what are some of the things, because I know you're married now. So what are some of the things that dating after abuse that you changed, that you or not changed, but that you expected that people met up to that expectation? Obviously your husband met up to some expectation because after 10 years you did find, I'm assuming that he's who you found and you know he's who you're with today. So
Correct.
what was that for you that you said, okay, this is the one. This is the
He
guy.
was he's my biggest cheerleader.
I love
I
that.
wear many hats, I run many businesses, and he was my biggest cheerleader. He'd say, "Oh no, you take care of the of your business, continue to shine. I'm going to go to the grocery store."
Right. I
And I
love
was like, "Wow."
that. Mhm.
Just little things. He was happy being in the background. He was happy letting my light shine. Um and I was happy to discover a very comfortable, trusting life with him.
Right. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah,
Especially when you know, you have had already two, like you said earlier, two abusive relationships. So to have this part of your life be a part that you can enjoy and love and and feel safe, right, Lillian? Like I
yes.
love the feeling of feeling safe. Like I love the feeling of coming home and knowing that I don't have a like a ball at the in the pit of my stomach because I don't know what I'm getting today. I don't know who I'm getting today. You know, I
Mhm.
remember those feelings. Those were really strong and very hard feelings to have. You know, and to know that I could just come home and tell him what I think and what my mindset is and blah 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 and be completely comfortable is a beautiful space. It really
Absolutely.
is. So what are some of the, for these young women and stuff listening, like or men, what are some of the things that you say, you know, for somebody who's dating or wants to date after being abused, right? I know that one of them was write your list.
Yes.
Another one was know your worth, right? So know what
Yes.
your boundaries are and all that great stuff. Um, uh, pay attention. What else do you have for us on dating after abuse?
Communication.
Communication.
Yes.
Yes.
If they're saying something to you that doesn't make you feel comfortable, or the way that they're speaking to you, you have to let them know that they're triggering something from they may not know that they're acting like the ex. And if they're
Right.
worth it, they're willing to nip it in the bud. If they
Right.
feel that you're worth it and want to spend time with you, they're willing to nip it in the bud.
And so, do you think it takes a long time for somebody who's been in an abusive relationship to start dating again?
Um, time is of time is different for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll know. I mean, I knew. I knew that for the first year and a half I was not ready.
Right.
I knew it.
Mhm.
Um, I would get a message in my inbox and I was like, no, I'm not ready.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not ready. You should,
That's
but
good.
that only happens if you take the time
To know yourself.
to
Yeah.
know yourself. Because
Right.
I mean, I would break up with someone and then my girlfriends would be like, let's go to the club, break up drinks. And we go to the club, and then when you're tipsy, then you're sending drunk messages to the ex or to who knows who. So
Right. Right. So I guess the moral of all of this too is so you guys have um what is that? So you guys have like a positive outlook that there is a way to date after being abused. There is a way to do it. And sometimes some new relationships that you get into, like Lillian said, can start off rocky because there's no communication. And if they don't know they're triggering something or doing something, that could also be maybe not a sign of abuse, but a sign that a conversation needs to be had, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So Lillian, before we like wrap up, because I love talking to you so much, I want to know what are some of like some good takeaways that our audience can take with them when it comes to dating after abuse.
Take the time to know yourself, value yourself, love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that, and this one's important to me too, because when I first started dating, it was new. It was the match.com, because I wasn't really a club goer, so where would I meet people?
Right.
So when you're going on a date, make sure, and you're meeting someone for the first time, make sure that you're doing it in a public place. Make sure
Mhm.
that someone in your family knows who you're going with. Um, I had my girlfriend would actually go outside and take a picture of the license plate
That's good. That's
of,
smart.
of who I was going on a date with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just be cautious. We live in a crazy world right now. Be cautious of your surroundings. If you have children, please, 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 please take care of yourself. They so need their mommy and daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Most of all, communicate. And anything that feels uncomfortable to you, do not be afraid to jump in an Uber, jump in a taxi, and get back home.
Yeah. 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 That's really a good one too, because a lot of times we will, because we've been abused, submit to an uncomfortable feeling and stay there when we shouldn't have to. You
No.
don't owe anybody an excuse. You don't owe anybody an apology. When you want to go, freaking go, and that's it. Like I remember, and there was an experiment that happened where this guy wanted to experiment to show the difference between women and men when it comes to uncomfortable situations, right? So when women would walk the street, he had a camera guy, of course, taking film, but he would walk right next to them and keep walking with them. And the women would just be like this, but they wouldn't say anything to the guy, even though he was like this close. When he did that to men. Men were like, "What's up, dude? Back up." And I was like, see, women need to realize they have a voice. And if you don't want to be there, don't. And if you have to take an Uber, deuces, take an Uber and go.
Absolutely.
Don't feel like you have to stay in a situation you are uncomfortable in, because you don't have to. You don't owe anybody an explanation or an apology. You
Mhm.
have to worry about what you like, what you feel comfortable with. I've been in, many, many years ago, some 20 something years ago, in uncomfortable dates where I'm like, you know what? I gotta actually go. My kids need me or something like that. And I just left, even though I didn't need to do an excuse. But I also didn't know my worth, Lily, and I didn't,
Mhm.
because I should have just said, I don't want to be here. Bye. And just left. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
we tend to because of people who have been abused. If you have been abused, you know what I'm talking about. You don't know what your voice really is. And you start to feel like you have to be a little bit more submissive or quiet to an uncomfortable situation, but you don't. But you don't, right?
Yeah. And it's for some reason, well, it's always been the test of time that a male being may be stronger than us women.
Right.
So we tend to walk on eggshells for
Mhm.
fear of their reaction,
Mhm.
whether it be them yelling at us or
Mhm.
them getting ready to hit us.
Mhm.
So when you
It's
feel that
true.
way, if you feel that kind of danger around someone,
Mhm.
you got to go.
You got to go.
So remember, your benchmark to start dating is where you ended your relationship. You already been through all the garbage. You've already been through the beatings. You've been through the mental abuse. You've been through the emotional abuse. So your benchmark, that is the lowest. Now you know that
Wow.
you must move forward from there. And
That's
most
good.
importantly, set your boundaries.
Yes.
Set your boundaries, what you
Yes.
will allow, what you will not allow, what they can do, what they cannot do.
Right. That's 100%. And when you first start dating, especially you ladies, do me a favor and don't give somebody an address of where you live. If you're just starting to date and they don't know you, or they, like Lillian said, she used, was it Match? You said Match, right?
Mhm.
I actually was on this is how long it's been. It's AOL chat rooms back in the 1990s or whatever that was. That's how I met my husband. But I did not allow him near my house for months and months and months and months after we had already met. I don't know him, and so being a single mom, I wasn't about to just give somebody my address to come pick me up at my address because I didn't know. So when you're dating after abuse, protect yourself, and I'm sure most of you already know that, but be aware. Just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your flags. Don't think that you are not smart enough to know what's happening. You are. You have a feeling. You have, like Lillian said earlier, you have that sixth sense, that sixth sense that actually says to you, something's off here. Don't ignore that. Don't
Mhm.
ignore that, right? So Lillian, I really love what you do and how you are impacting women's lives. I want to let you guys know that I am going to go to her amazing event. She's having an event in October, and it is to impact women's lives. And so, Lillian, I want you to tell us a little bit about that and how people can buy tickets and support all of the work that you're doing and work with you. If there's somebody out here who is coming out of a domestic violence relationship and needs a coach, I want you to give them that information too. So please give us all that info.
So our platform is ajustatucorona.com, AJUSTATU Corona, like the beer. Um, and on there, you can direct message us. Under the events page, you will find out about our gala, which this year is raising funds for Help Now of Osceola in Orlando. And
Are they an organization for domestic violence?
they are. Help
Mhm.
Now of Osceola is a domestic violence shelter. It's actually in the Kissimmee area. Our gala is being held in Orlando in the Winter Park area. It is October 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be a beautiful event. It is an English tea breakfast, so we all are going to wear our fancy big hat and our fancy fascinators. Looking forward to seeing all of you there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there too, guys. You have to come out. Honestly, if you can't come, at least you can do is purchase a ticket for a woman who should be there, because I think I know that one of Lillian's hearts is to make sure that women are impacted, and if that means that you can donate the ticket price to help a woman who can't afford it be there, then I want you to do that as well. So please go on to Ajusta Tu Corona. I'll make sure to link everything below, because I want to make sure that you are pouring out. If you can't be there, that doesn't mean you can't pour out and help someone else, right? And as she said, some of these proceeds are going to help a domestic violence shelter. So come on, this is a win-win. This is a win-win. You have to be a part of this. I know I cannot wait to be there. I know it's going to be a phenomenal event because I was there at the last one, which is fantastic. So I can't wait to be at this one as well. And Lillian, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come on and pour into our audience, like all of these amazing nuggets that you've been leaving here. Just with last week on the different types of abuse, then this week on dating after abuse. And I want to have you back on again in about 2 weeks or so, if you would be willing, so we can talk about
Definitely.
another aspect of abuse and how we can keep, because the more we talk about this, the more we unstigmatize it. And the more people are willing to come out when they are going through something, like the sign, guys, this is a sign that you need help. So if you are a woman that is doing some type of TikTok or show or anything or video and you do this, we know what that means. That means that you need help, that you
We're
are
in
in
danger.
an abuse relationship or in danger and you need help. Okay, so thumb in, hand over. And I want to make sure that you guys are impacted. When I was growing up and I was going through this domestic violence, nobody helped me. It was really, really hard. I was very much alone. No one helped me. The only one I had was my best friend, and she didn't know what to do because she was young like me. And
Exactly.
I did not know where to go. I had no resources, nothing. And when I ran away, I had to go to a battered women's shelter, which I felt ashamed of and really scared about. But you know what? You have nothing to be ashamed of. This is happening at you. This is happening to you. You have nothing to be ashamed of. I want you to reach out for the help that you need. And if you are already out of that relationship and you just need maybe some coaching, some guidance, something to push you forward, please reach out to Lillian. This is what she does. She is a domestic violence coach. This is what she does. She empowers you to be able to get all of those tools that are already within you so that you can move forward to wherever it is you want to go. So, Lillian, thank you so much for such a beautiful and very important and impactful topic. I am grateful for you and grateful for your time. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate you.
Yeah, I so love you. I love you guys so much. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Make sure that you share this topic. Make sure that you share this video. Let's reach out to as many people as we can, especially women who or men who are being impacted by abuse, because men are being abused too, guys. It's not just
Oh, yes.
men are being abused too, and they also need to be encouraged to speak out because it is important for all of us who are being abused. Nobody has the right to abuse you. Nobody has the right to abuse you. And I want to make sure that you guys understand that, know that, and that we help each other as a community. Thank you guys for being here. I love you. We will see you next time. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to have Lily. I'm going to drag her behind right back on here again to talk to us some more and enlighten us on what this is. Thank you guys for being here. Love you so much. Until next time.
Good night.